In this short video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create these stylized hammered roses. You see they're a piece of wire that's been hammered down to give it a bit of texture and hammered down in such a fashion that it becomes a solid piece that you can then use as a connector. So I've got a smaller piece here attached to a ring and a larger piece here. So you can make these whatever size you like. And you can attach them into all sorts of jewellery pieces. So the tools that you will need for this are here on my mat. So I've got my basic pliers, I've got cutters, flat nose and round nose pliers. I've also got a small jewellery hammer for doing a bit of finer hammering once a piece is created. I've got a mallet here. Now you can use a rawhide or a acrylic mallet. This has got an acrylic end on one side and a rubber end on the other. And this is handy. It's nice and heavy, but it won't damage the wire so much that you spread it too thinly and it breaks. You'll need a metal block. And under my metal block I've got a sandbag. That's not essential, but you will need a metal block of some kind to hit onto. And you'll need some aluminium wire. I've chosen 2mm aluminium wire because that's going to give me a big chunky look. Now you can go down your gauge, so you can go down to a 1.5 or a 1mm wire, but you will need to make smaller roses if you do that. So this is for the sizes I've just shown you, so that nice chunky big roses you'll need this sort of size. So I'm going to go ahead and cut some of my aluminium wire. I'm going to cut myself about, I don't know, about 60 centimetres or so. This is going to make me quite a large rose. And then at the centre of that wire, I'm going to fold it in half, fold it around like so, so that you've got both ends roughly lined up. It's not vitally important, but roughly lined up. And what you're going to do is you're going to create a little loop at the centre here. So I'm going to hold on to the wire and open and wrap the loop around like so. So it's wrapped around my pliers. And then I'm going to twist this wire, but I don't want to twist it upwards. I want to twist it around itself. So if I was just to take it and twist it, the twist would start coming up and it would grow this way. But what I want to do is almost start a spiral on top here. So I'm going to do it from this view so you can see it easier. So I'm going to take the one wire from one side, doesn't matter which side you start with, and I'm going to pull it around. So I'm putting my finger on top, I'm pulling the wire around to start a spiral. So one's gone all the way round, and then the other you're going to take and you're going to spiral that around there. So what we get here is the two wires sort of locking into one another. And because it's aluminium, it's really lovely and soft. So then I'm going to take the other wire and just bring it around a little further. So we start with this little knot at the centre, and that's our foundation then to work from. Now I'm going to take my flat nose pliers, because I made this rose quite angular, so I'm putting sort of lots of bends in it rather than curves. So I'm going to take my flat nose pliers and I'm going to hold on to one of the wires, and I'm going to just pull against the pliers there just to create that little angle, okay, on the top there. And then I'm going to pull that one round, and then this wire I'm going to pull round, and before it gets to that angle I've just put in, I'm just going to pop another angle in just before that, bring it round, and I'm going to let that wire sit on top of the one I did just a second ago. Okay. Actually, we want them to cross over. I'm going to go underneath because that's where it seems to want to go more than on top. So I'm going to go underneath, and you'll find that the wires will sort of tell you which way they want to go. So long as they sort of crisscross over slightly, then that's fine. So that wire's come round. So now where they crossed over, I'm going to put my pliers in, and this wire's on the top, so I want to now bring it, as I bend it, I'm going to bring it underneath the wire that came before. Okay, so that's now underneath, and again turn slightly and then put my pliers in where they cross roughly, hold with the flat nose pliers. Again, this wire's on the top, so when I bend it round I'm going to allow it to go underneath this wire. So put a bit of pressure on there to get a nice bend, and underneath. Okay, And we're going to continue like that until we've finished all our wires. Now you'll find as you go round that you might want to put the bends in a different place, or you might want to put more bends in or change the angles a little bit, but just go with it, just see what you think. You'll sort of get an eye for it. You might find that all your angles are lining up and that's not great, so you want to maybe this one here, because when I put the angle in it's going to line up too square with that one, so I'm going to bring it round a little first. So I'm going to sort of bend it round a little first and then pull that wire so that it doesn't quite line up with the one that came before. Okay, so pinch it down, pull it round, there you go, that's a bit better, it's not looking quite so organised. Okay, and then we keep going, so we're keeping going and we're sort of pulling it round at the same time. Again, this one's going to line up too square, so I'm going to just pull the wire round a little more before I put that bend in. Okay, so that one needs to go underneath that one. So you're always sort of overlapping them and allowing them to cross over, but also sort of coming out at the same time. So although these two wires keep crossing over one another, they're also coming out and making sort of a broader rose then. So it's growing in size. So we haven't got much more to go. So that one there, and this one here. So now it's looking a bit square as I'm doing it, a bit too star-like. So, you know, just get in and give it a wiggle, sort of change the shapes a little bit. Just so that it's not too formal. There's nothing worse than it looking too formal. Okay, right, so last few goes around now. Underneath, and then we're going to get rid of these excess wires, so let's just do these last. We can fit a couple more petals in here, last one maybe. Okay, so I'm happy with that now. I'm happy with sort of the size of that and the shape of that. So I'm just going to now take these wires and sort of tuck them in underneath. Now when we hammer them, it's going to sort of keep all these wires still anyway, so there's no need to over secure them or tuck them in too much. So what we're going to do is we're just going to sort of loop them around the back, and we just trim off so that they're only just sort of underneath. Okay, so they're just sort of underneath there. Just cut them here. Right, so now we're going to hammer. So I've got that loop at the in the centre there. Don't worry about that, that'll squash down as we hammer it. So I'm going to pop it onto my block, face down. Now because I'm going to work face down, I've covered my block with some masking tape just so that I don't sort of scratch the metal. We're going to bash it and we're going to probably damage it slightly, but we don't really want to scratch it or make too big dents in it. So what I've done is covered it in masking tape just for a bit of protection, and then I'm going to take my hammer. I'm using the acrylic end, so the harder end of the mallet, and I'm going to start bashing this down. I'm going to be quite firm with it, so it's going to be noisy. So good hard whacks with it. And usually we avoid hammering over the top of crisscrosses, but in this design it's fine because it's a really soft wire and we're using a soft hammer as well. It's softer than, you wouldn't want your fingers underneath it, but it's softer than a metal hammer. So I'm going to keep going. Okay, that's flattened out quite nicely. You can see my wires have spread a little bit here, so I'm just going to just encourage them to the back again. Just sort of use your pliers just to sort of twist them to the back. Okay, and I'll give that another hammer, and this time I'm going to hammer from the top and just... Okay, now that's lovely. So that is now a nice, solid, firm piece. Okay, that bit slipped out a bit, then we'll give it another bash in a sec. So it's nice and solid, and we can anchor into these points now, okay? So what I'm going to do now, just to refine it a little bit, is take the little ball peen end of my small hammer, and I'm just going to give it a little tap all the way around the edges, okay? So that's doing a couple of things. It's work hardening some of the areas here, because where we had 2 layers of wire, they've obviously squashed really well. But these haven't squashed quite as much, so that's squashing those and work hardening those, and it's also giving me a bit of texture as well. If you don't want the texture, by all means flip this over, do it from the back and do it with the flat end of your hammer, because then you won't get any texture at all on the front showing. This is the area where I've tucked in the wires, and so I'm going to concentrate a little more just there. Okay, I'm happy with that. It seems to have jumped up a little bit and given a bit more profile, so I'm going to flatten it one more time, turn it over, and I'm going to take my rubber mallet this time because I don't want too much pressure, and I'll give it another all over bash to seal it all in. Okay, and then there is my little rose element that I can use in with in my designs. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you have a go yourself, and I'd love to see what you make with it. So if you come over to Crow's Mojo Facebook group, you can post any makes you've made in there, and share how you got on. Okay, thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.